Welcome to Ghost Storybook, the best collection of true ghost stories. Today's story is Late Summer Night. Okay, bear with me. What I am going to tell you is a true account of a late summer night that I had on the Hopi Res, my village of Sangopavi. Sangopavi is a village like any other on a res, like many others. Res dogs, as you have so warmly written about, are a seemingly self-sustaining population in Sangopavi. Every household, it seems, has at least one, if not multiple dogs, and they are all outside dogs. At night, if you go for a walk, dogs will announce your whereabouts by barking at you as you walk by their house. This barking is maddening because you can't move about quietly from house to house. You will be greeted, but they stop as soon as you are out of their territory and on to the next. I was home from school one summer and shared a room with my cousin in a makeshift workshop behind my aunt's house. The shop was our little man cave, all fixed up with a couple of beds, perfect for our needs. One night, after 1 a.m., I came in to find my cousin still out, which wasn't unusual. I turned off the lights and laid down. As I lay there waiting for sleep, I hear barking off in the distance at the very east end of our village. There is only one house way out there, and it is next to a trail that winds up from the valley up to the top of our mesa. I didn't think much, but they kept barking. Then, at the next house, more dogs joined. I was a little puzzled because the dogs were not disengaging, and the numbers and volume grew as the movement continued. I was thinking that it sucked to be that guy walking through the village. I started to feel a bit uneasy or curious, because the dogs uncharacteristically did not give up. In fact, their barking intensified. I laid there and listened as the movement of barking dogs had become its own entity as it meandered through the village and was headed right in my direction. As they got closer, I could hear the dogs' paws on the sandy and rocky ground as they swarmed around this unlucky fool, or whatever it was they were so pissed off at. My heart rate was up, and suddenly they were probably about 20 feet outside behind the small cinder block room that I was laying in. I was glad that my light was off, along with everyone else's in the village because of the late hour. The movement seemingly stopped, and the dogs intensified. They were attacking and growling, snarling like they had something cornered. If I had to guess, there was easily over 20 dogs in this loud fray of vicious res dogs, all protecting home. All of a sudden, I heard this very loud, high, piercing howl that seemed to last 3 to 5 seconds. My heart stopped, my throat felt dry, and I was terrified. The howl was not that of a dog or any other canine, but it seemed to me a howl that came from a man's voice box. As soon as it stopped, there was a split second of total silence. Then instantaneously, every dog started crying and whimpering loudly, like they were being beaten so ruthlessly. You could hear their paws scrape for traction as they scrambled to flee, all while crying and running for their lives. Then, just as quickly as it all started, the sounds dissipated into the night. I was left alone in the darkness of that room. Sangopavi was so quiet. I could hear my heart beating rapidly, and even the blood coursing through my veins. I am not sure how long I was laying there when I suddenly heard footsteps. Someone was coming to the room. There is only one door and way in, and the walkway is closed in, so there is no way anyone could ever sneak up on you in this room. For that, I was grateful, especially on that night. At first, I was kind of scared. Then I realized that it was probably just my cousin coming home for the night. I was relieved. The footsteps stopped at the door and nothing. I assumed my bro was finishing his cigarette. It was so still and quiet when I heard the doorknob very slowly turning, like someone purposely being stealthy. I laid there in the dark, looking at the door, and it opened about a foot and stopped. Then in the darkness, I see a dark shadow of a head come in through that gap. It was pretty dark, but I could make out the head of a person as they scanned around the room in darkness. I summoned up in as manly a voice that I could conjure, yo! The head immediately turned my direction and looked at me. Suddenly, the head disappeared, and I jumped for the light and ran for the door, which was less than 10 feet from me. I ran outside, suddenly emboldened, not really sure why, but there was no one there. There was no one there. I heard no one running. They were just gone. I suddenly felt creeped out, like I was being watched, so I went back inside and this time locked the door. I laid back down in the dark. No way I was going to be sleeping anytime soon, just trying to make sense of it all. Then again, I hear footsteps. My heart starts beating faster. Then someone knocks on the door. I cautiously answer it instead of opening the door. It was my girlfriend. I let her in quickly. I was so relieved. She and her friends had just got home from Phoenix and wanted to know if I wanted to hang out and party a bit. Hells yeah. I had never gotten dressed so fast in my entire life. The next night at dinner, I told my aunt about it. She said her and my uncle had not heard a thing. I couldn't believe it. It was so loud, and their bedroom was probably only 60 feet or so from the action. She just gave me a look of disbelief and disappointment. I've always been confused by her reaction to my story, especially since I omitted my girlfriend's part of the story. I still get a sinking feeling every time I retell my experience of that late summer night. Thank you for listening. Subscribe us for more stories.